let me tell you the story of this ticket. Okay, so it's just a random ticket, right? Like a Sydney Opal ticket. This is such a random story because I don't even know how to explain it myself, but I'm holding this ticket in my hand, so it does actually exist. Last year, in June, I went with my boss to Sydney, and we went from the airport to museum, which is what the ticket says. And we arrived in Sydney around midday-ish, just before lunch. And we caught the train, and he bought me one of these tickets because we're not from Sydney, we're from Melbourne. So he bought me one of these tickets, and he basically got one for himself. Obviously, we got on the train and we got off at museum. And yeah, we did some work things, and somewhere along the trip, he asked me for the ticket. I gave it to him, and he just threw it away. The thing is, in this was a business expense, so the ticket is actually the invoice. So he's kind of missing that once he threw the ticket away, and so that's like what, $22.70 down the train if you don't have the invoice to show for it. I guess it's double. So he threw the ticket away. And we go back to Melbourne, and that's a big oopsie, obviously. Well, not a big oopsie, but like 40 something dollars down. What happened a couple of months ago to me was that I was in my old apartment, and I was searching. I dropped my bag outside my apartment, and all this stuff went spilling out of my bag, and I picked it all up, and then I saw like this piece of paper that was in front of me, and I picked it up too because I thought maybe I don't even know why I picked it up, to be honest. It wasn't my stuff, but I took it anyway. Maybe I thought if it's some neighbour's thing, I'll return. Anyway, I took it. Okay, I admit I took it. And I brought it home, and I had everything back in my bag. And a couple of days later, this thought went through my head. And the thought that went through my head was, I wonder what that was. So I looked in my bag, and I was like, oh, an Opal card. Cool. And then I looked at the date, and it said 19/6/2025, and I was like, when was I in Sydney? Because I feel like it was close to that date. So I went through my phone, and I landed on the Sydney trip because I'd taken photos of it, and I was there 19/6/2025. Not only that, but the time of this ticket is actually around the time that I was on the train. The fact that this ticket exists and I'm holding on to it is something that baffles me to this day. It is an extremely large coincidence that happened to me recently, and it's a physical ticket. I'm not lying about this. I've told people about this, and they said, well, it was in your bag all along. When you dropped your bag, it was there, and basically the ticket came out. I bought that bag after I went to Sydney. I also don't really carry much in my bag. In fact, I lost my bag recently, and apart from some cards and some keys, which did actually prove to be expensive to replace, there was nothing else in my bag. I wouldn't have been keeping a ticket from Sydney around that I would have had to give to finance in my company to claim money on for my boss. So I wouldn't have been holding it anyway. but it exists. And during this time, 19/6/2025, it was a really transformational time in my life. It was a time in my life before I had made some major decisions, and I was just about to step into a new chapter of my life. I find it so fascinating that this ticket has come back to me, because what happened also to me after that point was I kind of lost a lot of what I wanted last year. And since that time, slowly things have been coming back to me, but I have noticed there's been an acceleration of things that have been coming back to me recently. I don't know what the coincidence in all of this is, or the lesson, or if there's even a lesson. Like, I'll put this into AI and I've asked it, and it's just said it's just like random things, it's been, obviously AI is logical, but this is beyond. It's really beyond. I don't understand it. This is not the first time that this has happened to me, and I've been talking to other people about this kind of topic of coincidences, and the more I talk to people about this stuff, the more I realize that there are coincidences that are going on in life that are happening every single day. And for me, what I take away from this ticket was that when I didn't buy it, but when my boss bought this ticket, I was at a stage of my life where I had this feeling of my future, and I had this amazing excitement about my life and what it was going to become. And reality kicked in last year, and it stopped me from living that truth. But then when I got the ticket back, it reminded me to keep going. It could be a completely biased thing. It could be me just, thinking serendipitous things happen to me and, looking on the bright side of life. But the fact that this ticket exists and I'm telling you this story right now, it just shows that sometimes when you tap into that feeling, or you're feeling like you're lost and you want to get that back, sometimes it actually comes back in physical form. This is not the same ticket, obviously, unless someone fished it out of a bin and then had it on them. And it's very strange as well, because I didn't find this ticket around 19/6/2025. I found it earlier this year, almost a year later. And I don't even live in that apartment anymore. So the fact that it was there at that particular time shows how many coincidences had to play for it to land in my hand and remind me of that feeling.